Tonight, we are going to come together for one of our most important traditions, and that is sharing food and drinks with the CIO Leadership Award Dinner. We are here, most importantly, to honor 3 exceptional CIOs. The co-chairs of the CIO Leadership Award team, Ray Chang and George Westerman, will join me in a few minutes for these honors. But first, I want to thank the people who make the symposium happen. What differentiates the CIO Symposium from other IT conferences? Well, we're the only conference that in the world that brings together the academic thought leadership of MIT with the in-the-trenches expertise of CIOs from around the world. I said CIOs, but I include CTOs, CDOs, a lot of different C people. So this dinner and the symposium are organized by the MIT Sloan Boston Alumni Association, and your participation supports this important nonprofit as well as the overall MIT community. For those of you who don't know, this event is the major fundraising for the nonprofit, and so we really appreciate you being here. So I would like to thank everyone who has made this dinner and the symposium possible. The organizing team is a combination of vendors and volunteers who are equally dedicated to the event. Volunteers contribute in a wide variety of ways, including theme and panel ideation, speaker and panel management, partner outreach, logistics, marketing, international outreach, special programs, judging, and community management. So thanks to all the organizers for your intellectual curiosity, your dedication, and your hard work. I want to give a special shout out to our program manager, Tina Krasinski, and her assistant program manager, Erica Murphy, who have worked tirelessly at this event, so thanks to Tina and Erica. And now I'd like to thank our MIT academic partners that support us. That is Cybersecurity at MIT Sloan, or CAMS, the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Laboratory, CSAIL, the MIT Initiative on the Digital Economy, IDE, the MIT Industrial Liaison Program, ILP, and the MIT Startup Exchange. And we have other partners too, professional, international, media, and production partners. Thanks to all of you as well. And I'd like to thank our speakers for bringing their insights and stories to the symposium. It's not just about theory, it's about putting theory to work. And all the speakers who come to the symposium, I think there's 42 this year, they help do that every year. I'd also like to thank our sponsors. Obviously, without their financial support, the symposium wouldn't be possible. We have 3 diamond sponsors this year: McKinsey & Company, PwC, and ThoughtWorks. We have gold sponsors: Macero, CoreSite, Accenture, Testing Experts, and Celonis. And we have silver sponsors: the MIT Executive Education, Fuji, and the MIT Sloan Professional Education. These sponsors give us great insights into information technology. You're going to hear from a number of them tomorrow, and I urge you to speak with them. They'll have tables, most of them, set up right outside these doors. So, you've already applauded, but one more time for everybody who makes the symposium possible. Now, let me circle back to our primary purpose this evening, honoring 3 exceptional CIOs. I'll start by introducing one of our co-chairs of the MIT Sloan CIO Leadership Award Committee. Dr. George Westerman is a senior lecturer with the MIT Sloan School of Management and a principal research scientist in MIT's Office of Open Learning. The award criteria are derived from his book, Real Business of IT: How CIOs Create and Communicate Value. George is also the co-author, along with MIT's Andy McAfee, of the book Leading Digital, which many consider to be the Bible of digital transformation. And recently, George founded the Global Opportunity Forum, which is a community of organizations that are working to co-create the future of workforce learning around the world. So please welcome George Westerman.
Thank you, Alan. Wow, it's so nice to be here in person on this beautiful spring evening. You talked to the MIT climate change group. That's how we got the good day, is that right? Okay, good. When I call them, they're just like, we don't do that. So I have a script here. I never follow it, so we'll see how well this speech turns out here. This is the year of generative AI. Everywhere you look, generative AI is there. We were excited about it last year, but the difference is this year it's really happening. Real work is happening, and that's important. I asked the machine to write my speech this year. I think I can do it better, so maybe next year, ChatGPT, okay? But in addition to the AI challenge, there's also the Goldilocks challenge. And that's what our conference has been about, right? Our conference is about how much is too much, how much is too little. As the pendulum swings back and forth, how do we find the right balance there? So with AI, of course, it's clearly an important question. How much do you control it? How much do you let go? How much do you invest? How much do you wait and see what's happening? And when I talk a little bit about the stories of the CIOs this year, not only the 3 finalists, but just about everybody else had something to say about AI, and they should, right? But in addition to that, there are the governance questions. How tight, how loose? There are questions of speed and security and agility, many other questions that are really caught up in this Goldilocks question. You know what, to me, that means the job of the CIO has always been hard, and it's just got harder again with the AI things that are going on there. You know, you think we would have figured it out by now, but then something else gets along to make it more complicated. Right? So, you know, the great CIO and digital leaders in our industry, they're truly transforming their companies. They're not just doing the IT part, they're really making change happen. They're really transforming. They're building on the good things that we've learned over time, and then they're introducing new things and trying to figure out how to make that work. How to, you know, the old story, right? Changing the wheels while the bus is still running. Change the engines while the airplane's still flying. It's still continuing to happen there, right? They're really taking action to build the company of tomorrow, but to do it today. That's the type of leader we're looking for in this program, right? We're looking for people who can not be technology leaders, but be business leaders who specialize in technology, who can bring all of that together. And when I look around the room, we have our finalists. We have some of our past finalists here, and you know, to look through. And then we also have a bunch of other just really smart people who are involved in this world helping to make that happen. So if that's the type of people we're looking for, I'd never cease to be amazed by the people who apply for this award. Dozens and dozens of people from around the world take the time to fill out a pretty tough application form. An application form with those 7 questions, and those 7 questions are word limited. And it's hard enough to just give a good answer, but then to do it within a word limit is even harder. And the reason we do that, by the way, is to make everybody, those of you who are judges, to make your job easier. We make the applicants do more work, so our job gets to be easier. But that's okay, right? And the thing is, we've been doing this now, Ray and I, for something like 13 years, and every year they get better. The floor just rises higher and higher. People that won 10 years ago probably would not even be considered at this point. Not to say there was anything wrong with them, but that's just how good things are getting these days. That means it's also getting harder and harder to choose a winner from among our finalists. And we're finding that our final decision meeting is going longer and longer every year, and we've got to figure out what to do about that. Right? So before I announce the finalists, I want to call attention to some really incredible people on the team that makes things happen. First of all, the applicants. So many dozens of people fill out this form every year, and so many of you do it multiple years. In fact, some of our finalists are repeat applicants, and then now they're our finalists. And that's good to see, right, that you're willing to do that work. And it's great to see your stories change over time, too. Then there are the judges. And the judges, this wouldn't work without the judges. So in round one, we review all of the applicants to figure out who rises to the top. And that, as Alan said, that's based on our book, The Real Business of IT, and some other things to say, let's cull this list down to 10 people. So those of you who are round one judge, can you stand up for a second? And that's really hard work because everybody's so good. Stay standing. In round two, with those 10 people, we then give them to past winners and finalists to judge. Who better to choose who should be a finalist for our award than some of the best CIOs in the world? And so those of you who are on the round two, can you stand up? Bhagesh, anybody else here? Okay, we just have one. And then they choose finalists, 2, 3, 4 finalists. And then a set of us, 5 of us, will review those people and interview them. And so in round 3, it's the 3 of us, and then 2 more people. Irving? Great. Irving, great. And Lindsay's not here, so that's round 3. And that's a direct interview with each candidate and some background research we didn't tell you about. And then we have to sit down and make this choice. And I'll tell you who the choice was in a minute, but we'll tell you about that in a minute. I also want to pay special attention to our committee. Because the committee, from the time we start this, when we do the marketing, when we do the whole process, recruit the volunteers, run this whole thing, get the show going, it's just a very small crowd. So it's Ray, Alan, Irving, Mike, who's not here, Lindsay, who's not here, and Christo. So I want to thank them also as our award committee. I want to give special thanks to Alan Tate, who's chair of the Symposium, for everything he's done for the Symposium, the award process. He just keeps innovating this thing, including adding a whole day to it this time, which is pretty impressive. Alan's just on top of every detail. And what's interesting for a person who's on top of every detail, if something needs to change or if something goes wrong, he's also one of the most flexible people I've ever met to go with the flow on there. So Alan, thank you for everything you do for us. So, okay, you're all standing, right? Finally, if you've been involved at all with organizing the symposium, logistics, arranging, some of those people that Alan thanked earlier, can you stand up? I just want to repeat something really important here. This incredible event is run by volunteers. And it's these people that make this happen. And so I also want to just applaud you for everything you do as a committee. Okay, you can all sit down now. Now, for the main reason we're here tonight is the awards. And we have 3 finalists, and we have to choose a winner. And it's just a ridiculous thought because all 3 are winners. And when you hear their stories and when you see them tomorrow, you'll see this is just an amazing set of people that are here. That's why tomorrow we don't just announce a winner and say you're gone. We have a panel tomorrow with the 3 panelists so you can hear them in their voice talking about how they lead their groups. But in addition to that, every finalist is going to be on another panel to talk about some topic that's really important to them. The whole point is, although we have to choose a winner, we shouldn't have to choose a winner because they're just so amazing. Okay? Having said that, we have to choose a winner. So let me talk you through all 3 people, right? So number 1, Fahim Siddiqui. Come on up. I was telling Fahim, we just bought what I call I've got to tell the story first. Come up here and then we'll tell the story. Right. We only rehearsed this like 3 times. So I was telling Fahim that we just bought a decaying old beach house, and I've been living at Home Depot for the last month. So I'm very happy with the changes that you've made work through there. So here's the deal. Over 2,000 stores, 465,000 people, 8,000 in IT, over 40K SKUs, which actually seems like a small number when I go through a typical at Home Depot store, they had to make sense of that. And when we bought our first house 20 years ago, you couldn't find anything in Home Depot, and so you try to track down somebody who would help you out, right? And they were kind of busy. They didn't really want to help you, but they knew that they had to, right? And something has changed. It's now a beautiful, wonderful experience, and that's a lot of because what Fahim has done here, right? They've taken a more customer focus on what they're doing. They've integrated, they've smoothed out the interfaces. Even little things like you were saying that, online used to just be another store. And now it gets to be its own thing, right? They've integrated across, they've really put a culture in of technical and customer problem solving. They've talked about the experience. I actually use one of your quotes when I'm talking about, it's not about the technology, it's about a delightful experience. The technology is just buried in there, right? And on top of getting the customer experience right for people like me, they're now working on getting it right for the pros, the big spenders, and making that happen, which is also, from what I understand, a really tough process. So I just want to thank you for what you've done to make my life easier, but I also congratulate you for being a finalist.
Thank you.
Next up is Akira Bell for Mathematica. I thought I knew who Mathematica was because I'm an engineer, and I was way wrong. This is a much more interesting company to hear about. It's an employee-owned company that's all about evidence-based policy research. They live and die by data. And Akira is responsible for making that all work. So, what's interesting in that world is that if you think it's hard to connect and synergize across business units, just try to do it with PhD researchers. Why do we get PhDs? Because we like to be independent, we like to do what we want to do, and we hate having a boss, right? And Akira has to somehow herd all those sheep into making something happen. And they also have to do it in a nonprofit, service-oriented, social policy-based place. Really hard job. Oh, you're for-profit. Oh, well, go away then.
But we are mission-based.
Mission-based, okay.
Mission-based.
Employee-owned, for-profit.
We are employee-owned and for-profit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I won't say that anymore.
it's okay. Not-for-profit or the employee.
She still gets the award, yeah, no problem. Yeah, so, but in addition to that, right, so what happens then? If you're living and dying by the data, wouldn't it be nice if the data were something that were easy to work with? And those of you who have done research, hang out with economists or social science researchers, first thing you do is figure out what data you need, you put it together, maybe or maybe not that data is integrated in an accurate way, but it takes a long time, and then you run your stuff. What Kira and her team have done is put that all in one place. So you want to start a project, you don't wait 2 months to organize everything and then get started, you wait 1 day and it's sitting there for you to work with, which is huge, right? Not only is that faster, but that also means everybody is talking from the same set of numbers, so 2 different reports will come up with answers that match, which is kind of neat. And that is now a service you sell to other companies, right? Which is really kind of cool. In addition, we talk about security and how important security is. Their cloud-based platform now is FedRAMP certified. I had no idea what that was. I grew up in DC, I had no idea what that was, but what it means is you can go into government projects and they believe you that you're secure. That means other people can ride on your coattails. So you can get better business, but other people can work with you. And that also came out of IT. So those of you in the security world, this is security creating business value. It's the kind of story that you want to tell. Okay? And this is once again in a small, policy-based, for-profit institution, right? Which is pretty kind of cool. So, Akira, I want to thank you for letting me know who Mathematica is, and also for all the great stuff you've done in that company. Great. Last but not least, Chris Beatty from ServiceNow. So this is a conference for CIOs. We all think we know what ServiceNow is, right? It makes IT work. It turns out it does a heck of a lot more than that. In fact, ServiceNow is basically a workflow platform that can be applied to anything, as I've learned in getting to know Chris. And so that's finance, it's HR, that's all kinds of things, right? Chris in the IT team has done a lot of things in the company. First of all, they just made IT work better, which is always a good thing, right? The other thing that they do, which is interesting though, is that when they buy a new product, Chris's team helps to rationalize that product and link it in with the existing processes. So you know all the mess of spaghetti that we all have. Chris's team fixes the spaghetti when they buy a new product. And we all think that's a great idea. They actually make it happen, and somehow the product teams are okay with that, which is pretty amazing, right? Because that sets you up with that common platform you can build on more and more. The way I think about it is if you have spaghetti, you want to turn that into lasagna, right? Nice clean layers. And eventually you want to turn that into ravioli, right? So you can move it around the plate. And his team's doing that with these things that they buy. So that's really cool. But on top of that, they're very much involved in developing the new products too. Okay? So Chris spends a lot of time with their customers, out there talking about how ServiceNow can help them. His team is, he said, customer one. So, you know, we like to say you eat your own dog food. They're not going to call their products dog food. So they say that it's, you know, it's customer one, right? And in addition, they're suggesting products that can get out there and they can sell that thing. So you have IT moving from IT to helping kind of the back office technology stuff to actually producing products that they can sell over and over again for the company. IT becomes an innovation engine for the company and helps the company become an innovation engine. So, so Chris, thank you. I thought I knew ServiceNow until I got to know you, and now I know a whole lot more. So thank you.
Thank you.
So as I said, this is a really tough decision. It's the longest decision process we've had in years, and I'm happy to announce that the winner is Chris Beatty.
Oh.
Congratulations. So let's come here and get a picture all together. Come on over. Let's all picture.
Sorry, I Okay, what's that? Thank you.
Chris, you want to say something? Before I say that, though, remember, everybody's going to be on the panel twice tomorrow. So even though you're only going to hear from Chris now, everybody will be available. You got to hear the stories.
Well, just first off, wanted to say thank you. Truly humbled. There are so many great CIOs, CTOs, CDIOs in this room. I truly didn't expect to win, given what I knew about the other finalists, and so didn't really have anything prepared. But also wanted to say thanks to MIT. What I would say is, just off the top of my head, I think it's so fun right now to be a CIO. And I know that word has seldom been used with our profession, but, and I got into the IT job because I like to solve problems, and I always, as a recruiting tool, I'd say, like, hey, if you like solving problems, this might be a place where you want to build your career, because the problems are incessant, and we all know that. But I think about our role now, and I think it's come a long way. And I think about we actually have a really cool position. There's no other position in the company which has a bird's eye view of every single process, every single experience, whether it's customer, supplier, or employee. And by virtue of that, every single problem the company has too. But as I like to think about it for myself, that is a privilege to have that bird's eye view, but it's also a responsibility. And I think looked at the right way, what an awesome responsibility. Because if you think about, there is not a single strategy any company has, any department has, any person has that's possible without tech. And I think that's what makes our jobs so, so magical. And with the advent of AI, like Dr. Westerman was talked about, like the possibilities are endless. So just super excited. Thank you again to MIT, really appreciate it. My first time here, definitely going to be a repeat visitor if you'll all have me. And it's great to be in this room with so many accomplished individuals. Thank you.
So I told their stories very quickly. Hopefully you'll get to hear more of their stories. The other thing is all three of you now get to be part of our finalist family to choose the finalists for next year. So we hope you can come back and help us again and again as we go through things. So with that, I will turn it back over to Alan. Where are we going from here, Alan? I'm not going to turn it over to Alan. We're just going to eat dinner. Have fun, everybody.